no one has touched any lentil or legume type of material and then try to transform them into non-dairy alternative dairy products. So why we did that? Because this thing about allergen was always in our mind, and the material we use, the particular lentil we use, that doesn't come with any kind of known allergen. So that's the huge biggest advantage we have. And also it comes with a superior nutritional quality. So that was another reason to use this material. The protein content is much higher than what you get in usually oat milk or rice milk, coconut milk, that kind of, even almond milk. So basically the protein levels are very low in those type of milk. So we can have a higher protein loading in our products.
Hello, Arup. How are you?
I am good, Ravina. Thank you so much. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. ANDFOODS. It's a very interesting startup solving one of the most upcoming challenges that are faced in the dairy industry. I'll give a brief to our viewers. ANDFOODS is solving a huge problem. They are making allergen-free dairy alternative products, something which not every company is able to achieve. If they are, there are a lot of limitations. So with that, Arup, I know that fermentation is the process which you've used, the technique that you've used to achieve this. But to give our viewers a little more background into how this actually works and how it's worked for you and probably other companies where they've faltered.
Okay, thank you. Very good question. Yeah, you are right that presence of allergen in some of the non-dairy products which we have seen in recent past, it has been a problem. For example, of course, milk is not allergen free. Nowadays, lactose is being considered as allergen. But in plant-based area, we have gluten. It's a major problem in oat based drinks. In soy also you have allergen. It's not true that we have got rid of that by using a fermentation process. That's not true. Actually, we actually process a different raw material. So this was never explored by any other company in the past. So you might have seen coconut milk, almond milk, pea milk as well, but no one has touched any lentil or legume type of material and then try to transform them into non-dairy alternative dairy products. So why we did that? Because this thing about allergen was always in our mind, and the material we use, the particular lentil we use, that doesn't come with any kind of known allergen. So that's the huge biggest advantage we have. And also it comes with a superior nutritional quality. So that was another reason to use this material. The protein content is much higher than what you get in usually oat milk or rice milk, coconut milk, that kind of, even almond milk. So basically the protein levels are very low in those type of milks.
Okay.
So we can have a higher protein loading in our products. That was the second reason. And the third reason was an excellent color profile, basically the aesthetic properties. So when we produce, when you call something non-dairy or dairy alternative, so of course that must look like at least typically like milk. So for example, if you are aware of, let's say, hemp milk, it became very popular at one point of time, but hemp milk is a bit greenish, very greenish actually. Although you're calling it milk, but at least look wise, it's nowhere like dairy milk. So we have certain advantage to process this material, but the major challenge is actually just cannot apply the traditional processing technology and convert that into non-dairy products because of its there is a palatability issue. So basically this material, the legume as such, is not very tasty or easily acceptable by our palates.
Yes.
So there comes the technology, there comes the innovation, and that's how we started to take that challenge and start to solve that problem, which will eventually meet the allergen problem as well as a poor nutrition problem in those traditional in those means the other products which were available in the market.
Okay. Very interesting. And also I did have like follow-up questions about the challenges which you very clearly mentioned, that a lot of companies have tried to solve the taste, the off taste that you get, and also the acceptability as a consumer when you're using plant-based milk. They want like that emotional factor. It has to match what you normally have in the milk. So is my understanding correct that your USP would be the legume, the particular legume that you're using? I mean,
And
yes.
yeah, so obviously the USP is that particular legume. So that's why I'm not disclosing that yet, because we feel that that's something we discovered and that really has got some unique merit. Of course, eventually people will know about it when the product goes to the market.
Hmm.
But yeah, for the time being. And the second thing you mentioned about that improving the taste profile or the acceptance or the palatability,
Hmm.
there comes the role of fermentation. So what we discovered that if you can ferment this material in a very unique way, in a very optimized way, using certain specific combination of bacterial cultures, then the taste profile and the flavor profile can be modified, can be improved a lot. So that's where actually I would say the real IP is, that we are able to produce more dairy type flavorings into the product, and at the same time the same process is getting rid of the beany, raw, grassy type of flavors from the legume material. So, and this fermentation technology is specific to this legume, but overall different kinds of fermentation technology can be applied to other kinds of plant based materials, and you can create new type of products, new type of flavor profile. So
Okay.
this is our whole R&D focus, has been to work with this fermentation, and in future we'll work with more materials and different fermentation techniques to come up with more
D-
novel creation. That's the idea of our company. So we call it a deep tech company, very
mhm.
much technology oriented, technology focused, and we have a very unique advantage. If you have not seen that, we are actually a university spin-off company.
Yes, I
So the
did.
research, yeah, so you
Massey.
might have noticed on our website, so the research started about 3 years ago
Hmm.
by the university, by the innovation team in the university which I lead.
You, yes.
It's an output of that teamwork, which eventually was commercialized by forming this spin-off company. So it's a startup, but originated from an university, and the inventors or the developers behind the technology, they are a part of this company as important shareholders. That's how the structure is.
Okay, that's wonderful. And when you were talking about the protein levels that are able to achieve, at the back of my mind, I was thinking about how companies like Nestle and Starbucks, they've started shifting their focus from a normal aerated drink to now they're going into energy drinks or health conscious drinks. They're trying to target a certain market, and since the demand is also there. So, are there any numbers that you can give me as to how much protein you're able to have
So
in your product?
yeah, absolutely. So, well, you see that we can actually produce multiple products. So each product is different. So protein level, other level, fat, carbohydrate levels are
Okay.
all different. But the most common thing what others make, and the easiest thing to understand for your consumers will be a milk, let's say. Just a
Mhm.
milk, plant-based milk, legume-based milk, equivalent to oat milk, almond milk, hemp milk, rice milk, anything. So if you consider a milk, we have produced milk with up to 1.9% protein.
Okay.
So it's not a great number. It's not above cow milk. Cow milk has got up to 3.5% protein. Soy milk can have up to 3% protein. So those two, except those two, soy milk and cow milk, we can actually produce better nutrition in compared to any of the rest of the players in the field. So I give you some numbers.
Mhm.
If you look at oat milk, you will find the average range is 0.8 to 1%. If you
Mhm.
look at almond milk will be much less. It's less than 0.5% protein is there, which is nothing, basically peanuts. Similar
Yes.
to rice milk, coconut milk, they have nothing. But we can achieve up to 1.9%, which we believe is significant achievement, first of all. And protein is just one story. We have much more better health stories related to our products, which I'll come to the next if you are happy with this answer.
Of course, I would love to know about that as well.
Yeah. So the next important thing is the polysaccharide profile. So there are certain things present in these legumes which are called mucilage compounds. Mucilage means a very large polysaccharide molecule having some very unique functional properties. So for example, any product having mucilage creates a fantastic foamability. So
Mhm.
foam stability properties are very good. And our patents and all cover all these unique properties of this material what we are using. So another advantage of having more mucilage in the product is most probably it has a very positive impact on the gut health. Now, why I said most probably is because we are actually doing a study in our university to analyze that gut health property if anything is coming from the mucilage. So, because that study has not been completed yet, I'm
Mhm.
not giving you any conclusive remark, But more or less, the indication is there that most likely this kind of mucilage properties are having some. It's called a prebiotic potential. Prebiotic means a fiber type of thing which is not digested by our gastrointestinal tract, and that acts as a facilitator to help to grow probiotic bacteria in our gut lumen. So that those compounds are called prebiotic. So we believe that the mucilage what we have in our product has got very good prebiotic potential as well. So that makes a package of not just protein. Protein is good for your energy as well as all the good things about protein. That's a mandatory essential thing. But gut health not necessarily comes from protein. Gut health comes from having a very good gut microflora in your body. So
Yes.
if there is a healthy balance of microflora in your gut, then your overall gut health, your digestive capacity, and not just digestive, sorry, even your brain health is also connected to having a very good gut flora. So we believe that if we can establish that these mucilage compounds present in our product are really good for gut health, then I think we can have much more confidence to claim it as overall much healthier dairy alternative product than any of the competitors we have seen.
Okay, that's very interesting to know. I have a question. This is more on how are you looking at this product? Are you like what would be your go-to market strategy? Are you planning to because I feel that you can pitch yourself as a competitor to a product like Yakult in the market. And also, like since you're into creams and powders and whipped creams and powders and milks, so there are a lot of categories where you can be a competitor to these companies. So, are
Absolutely.
you planning to have your own product line, or is it something that you want to license to players in the market and
Very
probably?
good question. So, no, we are not thinking of creating a CPG brand, or we don't want to go to the market directly with consumer products. That's
I
a
just,
very challenging task.
hi, could I just interrupt you? I'm so sorry, but you've frozen.
Just a moment.
Sure, sure, sure.
Just let me know when things become okay, because I can hear you.
I can see you. You're not frozen anymore, but probably your voice. Is my voice clear to you?
Yes, so there could be an internet issue at either your end or my end. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
sure, but let's just let's keep on
Let's
talking and confirm
yes,
me when is it back to
yes.
normal?
Now your voice is fine, but you're frozen. But I think we'll just keep the momentum going, and perhaps like after a few
No, no, no,
seconds.
it's okay. It's okay. Let's not be in hurry. Just let's continue
Mhm.
with a normal conversation until it becomes. Sometimes it can happen. The internet connection can go through. Sometimes it could be at your end. You will never know.
Yes,
But
yes,
usually it should not happen here. Normally we do a lot of video calling and meetings. Yeah, it could be the app as well, because this is something I'm using for the first time. We
can be.
usually use the either Google Meet or Teams.
Yes, yes. They're more.
But if I'm frozen, what I can do is let me restart
You're
my camera.
you're
Is
not
that
frozen
possible?
anymore. I can see you. You're not frozen anymore. It's just that the voice is a little musical.
Cutting.
Yeah, just
Okay.
slightly musical. If let's say if I'm sounding good to you, probably it's at
You are
my
sounding perfect.
okay, then I think that it must be something on my end.
No, no, but if the recording is not of good quality, then it will be of no
Yeah.
use.
Yeah,
So,
that's why.
how do we know about that? Do you have any way to check your recording quality? Maybe a couple of minutes ago.
So what Riverside does it works on both the sides. So it will record it at your end as well as at my end. And then it will, so that if there's any disturbance or let's say if there's any voice quality issue, then it picks up the one that is better.
That is better. Okay, okay.
Yes. And you are sounding good
My
now.
end, absolutely fine. I can
Yeah.
hear you. I can I can see you perfectly.
Yeah. I'm
So,
glad that we took this pause because now it's good.
okay,
I can, yes, yes,
fantastic.
yes.
So, anyway, let's continue and see.
Yes.
If there is a trouble, we can reshoot
Yeah,
at that
sure, sure.
part probably. So, what we were discussing, if you
I was
remind.
asking you about the go-to-market strategy.
Yeah,
Is it
right.
something like, are you
So
going?
yeah, I mentioned that we are definitely not thinking of creating a consumer product company. So our business model is still ingredient. So it's a
Mhm.
B2B ingredient, and because of that, we are starting with one product which is very good for food service industry. it has got very high demand, the cream I'm talking about. So the process is very versatile. It's just like a dairy process. In a dairy industry, we start with milk and then we can create multiple products. Here, the same thing. Our base process is same. After a certain state, when we have created that legume-based base, we can either produce milk or we can produce cream. We can produce a Yakult type of drink, as you mentioned, which we call it fermented beverage. We can produce that. We can produce ice cream as well and powder. But we have taken a very conservative approach. So initially, we started to go to the market with two products, powder, milk powder, and whipping cream. But right now, we are absolutely ready to go to the market with a whipping cream. Probably the powder and others will come after this. So here of what our model is, of course, we are looking for a contract manufacturing. We do not have the infrastructure to actually produce this material. So as I said, we are a deep tech company. We are based mainly on our strength is IP and research and technology development. So we have decided to take our commercial production runs in China right now. So next month we will have our first pre-commercial production run coming up in China.
Okay.
And then from there, we are engaging with multinational companies who have got presence in different countries, different parts of the Southeast Asia, where they can take our product and distribute, because this product needs a refrigerated, a chilled distribution. So it's a very delicate product to handle.
Okay.
So we are taking their help in taking this product to the market, and particularly to the food service industry. For example, Starbucks is a very good example. They are gradually,
Yes.
it's in the news as well. So they are that beverage topping, what they use, which has been dairy, but they want to replace part of it with a plant-based solution. So that is one of our primary target, those kind of things. So beverage toppings, cold foam and beverage toppings, these two particular category areas we are targeting in absolutely B2B model, but that's just for the time being. In future, we don't know what exactly how the other products will be marketed.
Okay. That's very interesting to know, because I feel that you will be creating a lot of wave in the industry with this product.
Hope so. Thank you.
But it brings me to the question of, is this technology, like, how resource intensive is your technology? Are there any challenges with respect to water or energy sources that you probably face? How like resource intensive is it?
Well, you see, when the process is concerned, we really do not have much advantage over there to save water or energy, because it will take what it needs to convert a material into a finished product. But I think we certainly have got certain advantage in the raw material itself, what we are using. So why I'm saying this, because legumes has got fantastic environment credentials. So legumes are easy to grow. They do not leach the soil. They actually replenish the soil with nourishment. So they fix nitrogen to the soil. So if you know the agriculture practice in India, legumes are grown in between two rice cultivation cycle, because rice is so much of resource intensive. So that soil needs to be replenished either with additional fertilizer or naturally by growing legumes in those soils. So we have got certain huge advantage there. And the legumes use much less water compared to rice cultivation.
Okay.
So, there are certain advantages there to use the legume as your starting material. But then when it comes to the process, I would say we are not worse than anyone else. So we would say almost at par with soy processing or oat processing or whoever else is making this kind of process.
Okay. Are there any numbers that you have with respect to how enriching it makes to the soil, like sustainability wise?
We did have some numbers. We have not calculated the full LCA yet, right, from the beginning to the end, because that's very difficult to do unless you go full cycle production. You need data points from each and every section, every step, and then only the LCA can be calculated. But we did have some numbers about, but that's not our study. That's all published information. And I'm just telling you this general information about legumes. Right now, I cannot remember like percentage wise how much less water it consumes or less greenhouse gas emission it does. Like if you compare with dairy, there is no debate around it, because dairy production utilizes much larger land area. I'm talking about per liter milk production or per kg protein production. So much larger land area, much higher usage of water, and also comes with the greenhouse gas emission, which is methane. So methane gas emission from dairy cattle, that's very harmful to the environment. So if you compare all those things, anything you start from a good legume material will definitely have some advantages. Yeah, even if I cannot give you any number, but if you do subjective analysis, it's absolutely logical and clear.
Okay.
With the additional advantages of having non-allergen product with better
Yes.
functionality and better gut health properties.
Okay. Thank you so much for that answer. The hero of ANDFOODS, which is the whipped cream. I was reading into it, and you were able to achieve 140% overrun, which is something. I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong. That you've not added any stabilizer or any fats. Is that so?
No, you have to do that.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm sure you have done a good research. And 140% overrun is pretty much desired. This is not something um, abnormal or unexpected. So because dairy whipping cream usually gives that kind of overrun figure. But you have to remember one thing: dairy cream, pure cream without any stabilizer or emulsifier, is not a very good candidate for whipping. So cream is good for other applications, but if you want to simply whip a normal pure dairy cream, it doesn't give good
Yes,
overrun or body or stability.
I have
So
tried
all
that.
the dairy cream products, I mean whipping cream products from dairy, they do have up to 5 number of stabilizers and emulsifiers. So they do have to use that to
Mhm.
bring that property of whipping and holding that air into the matrix. That's the
Yeah.
main challenge. So
Yes.
we are not exceptional. We do have to use emulsifier and stabilizers. I cannot give you the formulation for it, but no, it's not like simply a pure lentil base and you start whipping it and
Whipping it
you
is.
get a good quality whipping cream. That's not possible. So we have to add fat as well. Like dairy has got up to 30% fat, so we do have vegetable fat of up to 33% in our product,
Okay.
and we do have a stabilizer emulsifier mix.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there is some advantage there because of, I mentioned to you, the mucilage compounds, and mucilage compounds are excellent in creating foams. That's the property. So
Yes.
that helps to create some additional foam stability to the whipping cream product. See, because there was a rationale to choose the whipping cream as a star product, because it's not simply that it was not arbitrary. Because of that advantage coming from the legume material, we created to produce whipping cream as our first product. And we do have the same advantage when we produce barista milk. Barista milk is another application which needs very good foam quality and
Okay.
foam stability at low pH. So very challenging. Soy milk cannot make very good barista quality uh, barista milk, basically because soy protein is susceptible to coagulation at high temperature and low pH. Whereas the protein what we have, it doesn't coagulate. It doesn't coagulate even if you heat it at 5 pH or 5.5 pH. Two very unique advantage: foam and heat stability. So we try to use the foaming ability in whipping cream product and the
Mm-hmm.
heat stability at low pH to create barista milk. Now, yes, the barista milk is not in the market or we are not doing it anything commercially. That's a different reason. That's not for the technology. That's the business strategy that a small company should not target, should not be too optimistic to suddenly come up with 10 different products and then there is a high risk of failure.
Okay. So while you were talking about how and why you chose whipping cream to be your flagship product, I was wondering if after achieving a certain, let's say, your target that you want to achieve with the whipping cream, is your technology or is the process, can it be applied to something like ice cream, which is of the same, let's say, texture or
Absolutely. We made some fantastic quality ice cream with the whipping cream. So
okay.
what we did that we replaced the ice cream needs fat. So if it is
Mm-hmm.
a dairy ice cream, it will need dairy fat. If it is a frozen dessert, you need
Mm-hmm.
vegetable fat. Like you have that quality Walsh brand in India, which is
Mm-hmm.
100% vegetable fat. So what we did, we replaced that vegetable fat with our cream. So
Mm-hmm.
cream is nothing but an emulsion of fat, right? So when we did that, we got far better mouthfeel and texture in the ice cream, and we do have comparative study and data. So that's what I said, that we don't want to be a consumer product brand, but if a ice cream company, let's say
Mm-hmm.
a company, like we are actually working with Mars Wrigley in US. They have
That's nice.
some fantastic ice cream products around the world, and we are trying to push our ingredient into their formulations, and that work is going on. The development work is testing, evaluation is going on. So yes, we want to capitalize on this particular foam making properties in ice cream, because ice cream is all about creating foam, creating overrun, and then stabilizing it. Just it's a different format than whipping
Yes.
cream. Whipping cream, you can say this is a chilled kind of environment, 4 degrees, 5 degrees, below 10 degrees. Ice cream is frozen environment, but
Yes.
fundamentally not very different. It's all about entrapping air bubbles into the system, stopping lactose crystallization. So basically stabilizing the system and bringing smoothness. That's how it
Okay.
works.
I have a personal question here. When you were trying to achieve a whipping cream with that intensity, are there any trade-offs that one has to make? Or is it something that, I mean, this is a question that I'm having, let's say, just as a layman, like, is there a trade-off that you have to make in terms of pH or anything like that?
No, no,
Or
no. I
it's
mean, there is no technical trade-off, but I told you that if dairy is your benchmark,
Mhm.
then there will be a compromise on nutrition,
Okay.
because I told you that the protein levels are not same. So anything you make
Mm.
from cow milk will have much higher protein. So that's the first trade-off.
Okay.
Second is the question of palatability or the sensory quality of it.
Mhm.
Nothing can actually match with dairy, and it's impossible thing. It's no
Mhm.
point of trying that as well. It's a question of whatever we are making, how acceptable it is to the consumers. That is so subjective. We will
Mhm.
never know unless it is eventually, it goes to the market and start selling there. What we could do, and we did, was consumer sensory studies. So we
Yes.
used extensive internal study, as well as we used external people as well to evaluate these products for different sensory properties, and that was very satisfactory. In fact, I do have result to show you, not here, but I am just telling you that when we did a blind test study of our whipping cream compared with a dairy whipping cream,
Mm.
I think almost 55% people could not even distinguish that which
Oh.
one is dairy and which one is a plant-based thing. So that much of confidence we have. But having said that, it's not identical to dairy, and that's impossible to do. No company has ever created any dairy alternative which is 100% identical to dairy products. But people are buying it, people are consuming it happily, because people
Mm.
have got different concerns. People have got they worry about environment, they worry about mainly environment. But so yeah, I mean, if you consider those things, we do have very high confidence that the trade-off will be very minimal, a little
Mhm.
bit on the nutritional properties,
Mhm.
but that will be probably mitigated by the advantage we have. We are doing good for the environment, and it's a novelty, because the world is always looking for novelty, what is new.
Yes.
Bringing anything new with little bit of few advantages, I think can create some new sensation.
Yes. Arup, I'm also interested in knowing, you mentioned that your partnership with Mars and Wrigley with respect to ice creams. So anything on that front, if you can tell us, how has the partnership been? Are your products with Mars out there, or is it in the testing phase?
Yeah, partnership means it is an effort we started a few years ago actually. So this is going on, still going on, but not finalized yet.
Mm-hmm.
The process is like we are providing our ingredients to them,
Mm-hmm.
and they are working with another company who will provide the fat source, and they are trying to create a non-dairy
Okay.
100% vegan this thing, ice cream or frozen dessert, whatever you call it. Why is it different? That we already had seen frozen dessert, but the frozen desserts had vegetable oil, palm oil or coconut oil, it can be, but it's not 100% vegan. It still has milk solids in it. So that is not a solution to the vegan people who wants
Yes.
absolutely strictly no dairy. So
Mm-hmm.
what Mars and us we are trying to create is absolutely 100% non-dairy application, and two ingredients we are providing to them from time to time, cream and powder, and for them to develop. But this is a very long process, particularly in this kind of multinationals. The decision making process and eventually creating a deal and taking the product to the market, because our purpose, our objective is basically to supply the ingredient to Mars so that they can produce the product. But to go up to that level, there are several steps involved, different levels in that organization involved. So we are hopeful, but nothing is concrete yet.
Okay. So if I would say they're powders and creams, but do you think that milk is something that a company, say if Starbucks is interested in um taking
Yeah,
your technology, would that be an easy integration?
absolutely.
That would be
Absolutely.
my.
We are open to that because we are not doing milk ourselves.
Mhm.
So we are fine to have some kind of arrangement licensing with any company who is particularly interested in milk. In fact, to be honest, we already approached Danone for that
Mhm. Mhm.
some time ago. But anyway, that finally didn't materialize. Not just because of product evaluation, because the strategy changes. These companies sometimes they change their direction and the future what it will be. So
Okay.
that didn't materialize too much. So we are absolutely open and free to talk to any big multinational company who has got real good strength in the market to
Mhm.
bring something like this. See, we never wanted to enter that market because it was crowded by big players and
Yes.
it's very difficult to compete with them. Yeah, in terms of margin and all these things, and the marketing strength, the brand strength. Without those things in place, it's a very risky thing. But a company like Nestle or Danone, this kind of companies who have got enormous strength in the market, if they want to push something like this with a fantastic brand and a story, then I see potential in that, and we are happy to discuss, happy to engage.
That's really good to know. And I would end this with two questions. One, we've spoken about creams and whipped creams and ice creams and powders. But in the long run, in your roadmap, do you see your technique or your process, the legumes being used in solids like cheese, probably? Is it something that can be used in that as well?
Yeah, I cannot confirm anything like that. Cheese is a very difficult subject. In fact, we have another technology to produce plant-based cheese, but that's a different subject. That's not and foods related. That's what
Okay.
my research in the university. No, we don't use a legume thing or this technology for cheese making, but you mentioned about solids. So that's a fantastic thing to mention that we do produce some solid byproduct as well during the process. So we take the liquid part, but the solid part remains. And
Okay.
because of this process, because of that solid part also goes through fermentation process and other things, that itself is a very nutritious byproduct from our
Okay.
process. So what it has got, the approximate composition is like 27% protein. I'm talking about dry matter because this is a
Yes.
dried product. Okay, this is a dried, comes out as a flaky kind of a
Okay.
flour, you can say. So this has about 27% protein but
Mhm.
37% dietary fiber, insoluble dietary fiber. It's fantastic thing. I mean, it's having that kind of dietary fiber in the product. So we really don't call it a byproduct. We don't like to call it a byproduct or a waste product. That's actually a very good product close to our heart. So we have not done a little bit of development work with that. So we are working with one multinational company with that side stream. We call it side stream. So that
Okay.
multinational company's name is Royal Canin. So Royal Canin is a pet food manufacturer,
Mhm.
and they are actually a subsidiary of Mars Wrigley. So that's
Okay.
how the connection happened, and we started working with them. So they tested our this side stream. They
Hmm.
analyzed it thoroughly and found it extremely digestible, having high fiber, protein, all those things. The story is fantastic. Now we are in a stage when they are asking for some bulk quantity of this material so that they can actually take an animal trial. Okay, so
Oh.
basically then they will produce some formulation, formulate some product and feed it to the cats and dogs.
Hmm.
They have a protocol of doing that. Whether the cats and dogs are
Right.
liking it, they will then measure some nutritional parameters, etc. So at that stage we are. Of course, we are not producing it commercially, so that's a challenge we are facing. But once we start producing, we will generate a lot of this side stream, and probably we can deliver that large sum, sizable quantity to them for doing that trial.
Right.
So overall, the composition of that side stream is extremely good. The applications will be something like pet food, bakery, in any baked goods. You can imagine a muffin, cookies. We have tried all those applications. Or can go into a breakfast cereal. Okay, breakfast cereal is a very common thing where you have multiple grains and flakes and all those things mixed together to create a granola or muesli. And this side stream can be easily blended to that to enrich it with fiber and protein.
Okay. Very
That's the
interesting.
concept.
Very, very interesting to know about that. And you mentioned something regarding the regulations. So, are there any regulatory hurdles that you've,
No,
since you're
no,
not
we do
producing
not
them?
anticipate anything because this is not a novel food. So
Mm-hmm.
when you declare something as a novel food, particularly in Europe, you have to go through certain process. But we are just using a lentil which has been consumed by people for more than 100 years or 1,000 years, who knows.
Right.
So there's nothing novelty here, and the process what we are using is also all standard process. We have just developed. We combined a few things together. We brought in fermentation here, but fermentation is not we discovered. So there's nothing unique in that sense. And the finished product is all safe, having all grass ingredients, GRAs, which is generally regarded as safe. So we have not, yeah, we have not anticipated, and now we are going to the market. We consult with regulatory experts, and we do not foresee any issue at all. And we do not have allergen either, so that's a
Yes.
huge advantage.
That's so good to hear about that. And now a personal question that I've had, like as a founder, I'm sure that it is interesting. You know, there are days when you feel like, yes, we are on to something. And I'm sure that there may be days that you must have felt like this is getting a little too tough. So what is that one mantra or maybe motto or something inside you that keeps you going on every day?
Well, very good question. That aha moment comes when you actually see your research, your innovation finally is able to see the daylight. And that day has not come yet when I can see my product sitting on a supermarket shelf and I'm about to buy that. That will be that eventually ultimate day. That's the dream for any guy who is into this innovation field, because a lot of people do a lot of excellent innovation. The quality of them are fantastic, but that eventually actually do not get materialized. So for me, is the biggest satisfaction is the thing which I conceived, and then gradually my team got involved. But I was right from the beginning, from the first day. And that eventually is at this stage, we got funded by a VC company, and that's a sizable amount of money. Everything matters. That gives a tremendous satisfaction. So it's not about whether I'm making money out of this venture or not. That will come. Money will come when you do good work. That's not the motivation. The motivation is to get accepted by the consumer, offering something to the people, and then talking to people like you, talking to media, and everyone appreciates what we are doing. That gives a very good satisfaction, sense of satisfaction. In fact, next week I have a media interview with New Zealand radio. They want to know more about this thing. So it's a tremendous satisfaction, hard to explain.
I wish the best to you, all the best. And it has been so good talking to you. You've been so receptive of all my questions and honestly given me a very good clarity about what is it that you're actually doing and how well you've been able to do. And it's not something that every company is doing. It's every company wants to go into plant-based alternatives, but they fail somewhere or the other. But you've been able to create benchmarks, like you mentioned about the 1.9% protein as compared to others.
I would give the credit definitely to my team and the environment or the place where we are doing it now. So I always tell this to everyone that we are not just another startup, with some ideas and people start working on it. The people behind it are world class food scientists. So the knowledge and expertise and the facility we have in New Zealand universities, all these helped, and that's why we could create an excellent thing. Otherwise, I know this is very a lot of companies, they aspire for these things, but the market is very very competitive, and attracting venture capital is not easy. So
Yes.
and but you need capital to go to the market. It's not cheap to produce this kind of product using a contract manufacturer, and the volume, tremendous volume you have to do in business. So you need to have a real strength, financial strength as capital. So that was possible all because of the people behind it. And of course, the products, the prototypes, what we have developed and demonstrated. So that was overwhelming. Basically, we never had any question about the merit of the company or the product. So it was it was very smooth actually to form this. So overall, everything is very satisfactory so far. I just hope that we become successful when we actually enter the market and product gets accepted,
Yes.
and then we can do much better in future. So we don't want to be limited to only this particular one or two product or just one technology in future, because this company is backed by so very good science activities. So we aspire to do much better technology wise, bring in more novel plant based, but we don't want to deviate too much from what we are doing. So pulse
Yes.
based or legume based products, having fermentation as one of the most key crucial step, but at the same time doing newer things, solving more problems. That's the
Thank
vision is.
yes. All the best to you, Arup. Thank you so much for your time.
Talking to you, and your questions were interesting, tricky, and thank you for doing a lot of research on us. I appreciate that when people do the research and then take interview. It's amazing.
Thank you so much for that.